What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Paranormal Rush Hour. I'm your host, Ryan Rush, and today I want to talk to you guys about Hellier and the missing 411. Okay, you're going to have to bear with me on this one. I've been looking into this for a while. Like, I, I've been, I've made so many notes, like literally so many on this stuff. Like pages and pages and pages of notes, and that's just one stack that I have here. Like, I've been into this, okay? And the reason is there's just one thing that happened in this whole series that has made me this intrigued. And I'll get to what that is. First, I want to say I really appreciate all my new subscribers. And any one of you who has not subscribed yet and you're watching this, please do, because I try to keep it interesting for you guys. Even if I do have to wait a little while to upload a full-length episode because I'm getting obsessed going down the rabbit hole with it. But that's just the way it goes with this stuff. Anyway, I just want to thoroughly do things. That's why it's taken me so long to do this. Anyway, all right. For those of you who haven't seen Hellier, there's not a whole lot of spoilers. You're not going to really know what I'm even talking about, because it's just, it's going to be like little segmented pieces of information from the actual series. And the series is hard to explain because there is so much that goes on with it. It's just several things over and over that just keep happening things just keep happening with this series. That's the thing about it. There's spoilers, but it's not much of a spoiler, if that makes any sense. Anyhow, if you guys don't want to know anything about it and you have not seen it, then you may not want to watch this until you do. I don't want anyone to be angry with me for exposing anything that they might have been better off not knowing before seeing it, I guess. But if you don't care, and really it's one of those things you have to watch it, and even if you did watch what I'm about to say and then watch the series, you'd probably still have to go watch it another time to actually understand what it is that I'm talking about. It's that complicated, in certain aspects, but it's not that bad. It's just some things, you have to okay, what are they talking about? Okay, it all ties in though. It's just strange. It's like basically documenting going down the rabbit hole. That's basically what this whole series is, and it's interesting, and it's all free on YouTube. So anybody that wants to watch it, you can go watch both seasons. They haven't made a third season yet. They said they were going to take a break because things were getting really crazy, and I haven't really heard much about it, so I don't know. I'm sure they can get another one out if they want to, and they will, I'm sure, because Greg Newkirk, the guy who actually started this up, he has stated things about, one thing he wrote on Reddit said that releasing these seasons is actually part of the investigation. And I'll get to where I saw all that and stuff. I'll explain all that in a minute or a few. But anyway, Hellier is really interesting. It begins with an email from a guy from Hellier, Kentucky, who claims there are goblins on his property that are coming out at night from the abandoned mine shaft that he has over on his property. And they're coming up to his house, basically terrorizing his family. His kids are afraid because they're looking into the windows and stuff like that. He's been confronting them also when he sees things. Like he said, they were coming up onto his porch, and he went out there with a gun or something and ended up getting a look at one of these things who had come around the side of the house not knowing he was there. He said there were at least 5 this night, but he saw where they were and where they ran off and stuff. And he said they chirped to each other to communicate. It's really strange. I mean, it's a really crazy claim. And it all starts out with this claim about these cryptids. I mean, it's a cryptid-based investigation at first. So what happens is they correspond through email. Greg Newkirk had this email address from years back when he and his friends had this paranormal group, investigation group kind of thing. I guess they just messed around when they were teenagers, doing that stuff, exploring abandoned buildings and whatnot. But he said that they left it up, just the website for it, they left it up just for, I guess, because it housed some of their old footage and stuff just for memories or whatever. Well, on this website, there was an active email address because it was tied to the website. Well, this guy, this David Christie guy from Hellier, emails that address and sends him this report about these goblins. Okay, so Greg happens to check the email and see it. I think that was another weird thing. He said he hadn't looked at it in a while and just happened to be there, and he checks it, and it's this email about these goblins. And I mean, this guy, they read the whole email on the episode. I think it's like the first episode or something. But it's really interesting. I mean, what this guy says. It's, of course it's intriguing to people who want to investigate that type of thing. And Greg says that he's, interested in it, but he needed more proof and stuff, and this guy sends him pictures. And this is where I've mentioned Hellier before, I know, on my show, where I'd gotten a report from one of you guys about three-toed prints being found on your property. And someone else told me about another video, another guy who found three-toed prints also on video. And I saw that. And they look very similar to what this guy sent Greg on Hellier. I mean, these prints that he sent pictures of are like three-toed prints, and they are weird. Who knows what in the world could have made this? And that's why I was really interested in the whole three-toed print thing too. Well, anyway, he also sends pictures of these creatures themselves. Like, he somehow got photographs of them at night, and one of them's like peeking from behind a tree, and it's like glowing. And this was interesting too, because the reports of these glowing creatures were also mentioned in the Hopkinsville goblin case. And that one's pretty famous, from Hopkinsville, Kentucky. Anyhow, that's interesting, though, in my opinion. It's kind of a connection, because the Hopkinsville case is well known and it's well documented. So I don't know personally about any of it, but Greg was interested and wanted to go investigate this. So he had corresponded with this guy enough to where he said, yeah, we'll come out there. And then once he did that, the correspondence ceased. I mean, completely stopped. This guy deactivated the account, I think, the email account, and he just was gone. So anyhow, somehow it just gets kicked back up after a few years. And they end up going to Hellier, Kentucky, and start kicking around up there. And they eventually get an email from another guy named Terry Rist. This guy, he starts talking about all kinds of crazy stuff about underground bases and things like that. And that is the concentration of what I am looking at right now, right here. Underground bases. Okay. This comes up in the whole goblin thing too, because they come out of an abandoned mine shaft from underground. And this guy says they live in caves under there. You have the Mammoth Cave system in Kentucky, which is massive. It's like the largest one. And it's just crazy. There's caves everywhere in the southeast, or in the east. I mean, not just southeast, the east, on the whole eastern side of the United States. There's tons of caves. So this is interesting. Okay, well, Greg actually said that he went up to North Carolina to Browns Mountain, something like that. Anyway, there was a rumored cave, or I don't know if it was a cave, but it was an entrance to an underground base up there at that place. Well, this Terry Wrist guy sends him these numbers, and when he entered them as coordinates, it went right around the area where they were when they went to that place in North Carolina. And only a few people knew about that, he said. I mean, that's just one of the weird things that happens. Like, one of the things that happens in this. It's full of weird stuff like that and synchronicities. There's a lot of synchronicities that occur with them. And they document them and go through them and all that. And I really think it's real. I've listened to enough interviews from these people where I really believe that they are actually conveying what is actually going on. I don't think they're making this up for TV. Anyway, that's just how I feel about it. You know, everyone makes up their own mind. But I'm looking at this as they are conveying what's happening to them specifically. Now, what other people are doing, I don't know the whole validity of that. I just know what they're finding. I do believe they are showing us what they are finding. So anyway, this whole Terry Wrist thing is weird though, because he uses specific terminology about certain things that will come up later. And it has to do with this whole underground base operation kind of thing that's going on. Well, it gets really strange because this guy sent them an email, and I think it was after he sent them the email when they were going to Kentucky. One of the the cameraman that they had, who was also a paranormal investigator, he said that he liked to choose audiobooks to listen to on trips to pass the time, I guess. And one of the ones he had chosen was The Secret Cipher of the Euphonauts by Alan Greenfield. Okay, this Secret Cipher of the Euphonauts book had an appendix interview with Terry Wrist. And this guy claims that he used the cipher to locate Indrid Cold, who was, I don't know who might be familiar with the case of Indrid Cold. He was this extraterrestrial humanoid who came to Earth and made contact with a certain guy, and it became like a contactee type story. It's really strange. I mean, and it ties into the Mothman prophecies because they say Indrid Cold was around when all that stuff was going on up in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. Anyway, this gets really, really complex with the whole Mothman prophecies and Indrid Cold thing. But that's where it all starts to tie together with that. Okay, this Terry Wrist guy is someone who knows or has allegedly seen Indrid Cold. He found him using this cipher, this Euphonauts cipher or something. He also claims that Indrid Cold was sent here by the Third Order, which is like a UN type thing for intergalactic races, I guess. Like people or aliens or whomever, extraterrestrials. This is like, the Third Order is like how they govern the galaxy, I guess. Something like that. That's the way it sounded. And it seems that the Third Order is who sent Indrid Cold here to Earth. And I don't know what for and all that, but maybe it has something to do with these underground bases, because there's a lot of talk throughout this whole series about them being extraterrestrial. Okay. And there's a lot of UFO sightings around these areas where these things are supposed to be. So, anyway, all right, that just kind of goes into the whole Indrid Cold aspect of Hellier, which it gets crazier and crazier. It's like they start wondering if it is actually Indrid Cold who is trying to guide them to figure this out or something. It just gets really wild. But somehow this Terry Wrist guy had emailed them. He sent him that number, those numbers, and anyway, it begins this whole other mystery with it or whatever. But that ties into another thing that I am going to talk about, which is what actually gets me really concerned about this case, this whole thing. When you look at like the missing 411, okay, the cases, Dave Paulides has himself, he has established the profile points just from him looking at all these cases over the years. He has established these profile points that cause something to be a missing persons case that fits the 411 profile. Okay, that's what determines it to be a missing 411 case, is these profile points he established through looking at, thousands of cases. And I can see how, over time you would begin to see these patterns. Okay, I haven't gotten to the thing in Hellier, which became probably the most disturbing aspect of this whole thing. All right. And this has been discussed. This whole thing that I'm talking about has been discussed by people, online, especially like people on Reddit. You can find Reddits on this all day long, probably. But Greg does a good job, I have to say, of responding to things that are said regarding this type of thing. But the first season of Hellier, okay, it kind of stopped with the whole Terry Wrist thing and all that, but it picks back up in season 2. The beginning of season 2 is what starts this whole thing. It kind of gives it this turning point, okay? Season 2 starts with an email from a girl named Amy. Okay, Amy is describing something very disturbing. Okay, Greg and Dana had done a live feed for their little museum thing, I think, or one of their deals like that, and they had just gotten done, and he gets this email from this girl named Amy, and they withheld her last name. Anyhow, this is really weird because Amy emails him and starts telling him about she ends up getting on this whole she does her own investigations on this whole thing that's going down in Somerset, Kentucky. Okay, Hellier seemed like it was kind of a dead end, like nothing really weird was happening there anymore. But there was this place, Somerset, which had some weird stuff going on, and somehow they got led there. I can't even remember. I've watched so much of this, I can't even remember now what led them there. But Somerset, Kentucky starts coming up. This girl is from Somerset. I'm pretty sure she's like a native to Somerset. But this place, she said, has some really, really weird stuff going on and some sadistic stuff too. Okay, there's a lot of missing people, she said. And this is why I was kind of talking about the missing 411. See, these profile points, could someone else have been aware of these before and made certain cases not look like it? Because there isn't a single cluster in Kentucky. And when you look at the map of caves and clusters for missing 411, you can see how they correspond, like, very accurately. So it makes me wonder, is there a correspondence? And if there is, then why is Kentucky, that has one of the biggest cave systems in the country, free of clusters? That's weird too. Is someone suppressing something there? Because the way this sounds, it sounds like everybody's in on it. A lot of people in the town and stuff. It's just strange. Okay, it's really strange, and I'm gonna get into it a little more and tell you why. Amy describes a lot of things. Okay, she alluded to missing people being kept in the caves there, and she told Greg that they were now on their radar. Like, these people, whoever it is, knows that they're looking into this kind of thing. And Greg really wasn't looking into it before, except for the whole goblin thing. Well, this ties in because Amy claims that there are these little green men, is what she calls them. She says they're like lime green, and they are like 4 feet tall or something, and they live in the caves. And I don't know, I guess they do all kinds of crazy stuff, like take people, and I don't know what their whole purpose is or anything like that, but they have she says, this whole underground civilization, this whole colony that lives underground in these caves and just does all this crazy occult stuff. And it's really weird. Like, they do this sacrifice and torture and ritualistic stuff, occult paganism type thing, and it's just really disturbing what she says. All right, she goes into detail about, okay, she was out camping one night with her boyfriend by a lake, and she gives the name of this place and stuff too. She also said, I think it was around the Coral Caverns, and you can look it up. I've looked up the Coral Caverns in Kentucky and seen a map of this place. And anyway, she says that she heard a woman screaming, or a girl or somebody screaming for help. And she was like really concerned and wanted to go and help this person. And she said her boyfriend covered her mouth and grabbed her and said there was nothing they could do for her without weapons. And she said they couldn't go out help her without weapons. There was nothing they could do for her. And he started, she said, maniacally going around cutting off lights and stuff, like, I guess, freaked out, not wanting anyone to know they were out there, is the way it sounded. So, anyway, so she like gets on this whole like big thing where she's really concerned and she wants to figure this out. She's wanting to expose all this stuff, and evidently, it was, from what she says, her boyfriend and these other people in the town all know about this stuff happening, and a lot of them are part of it. And so she starts talking about that, and she says that she ends up going and finding, like, hiking to this cabin that was in the woods where she found all this crazy stuff like bones and blood and excrement and things like that, and handcuffs and shackles on the walls and beds up covered in nasty crap. And she said that she found like paperwork on missing people and weird stuff up there at this place, at this cabin or whatever. Okay, she says that she went and she says they took everything that she had from her, or whatever. But then she claimed that there was this house on Hale Bridge Road in Somerset, Kentucky, which is a real place. I have Googled it. You can see there is a place called Hale Bridge Road, and there is a residence there. There is a house there. She says that this house has an elevator in the bathroom that lowers down into these old mine shafts and into this underground labyrinth of tunnels that goes to this whole colony, civilization, underground, run by these creatures or these beings, whatever they may be. I don't know. There's something like that. But she says that this place has this elevator, and then she tells him that she's actually has a boat to go there, but she said she will not go there again unless she has backup that she knows they are afraid of. And she says the gatekeeper is the scariest one of them all. She said he can do real magic. She said that she felt like she was suffocating when he whispered something and blew her a kiss. And she said he carries this curved, weird walking stick and a crystal, and was evidently doing magic on her. So I don't know. She didn't elaborate about anything else, about how she went down there, how she found the place, where it's at. Nothing like that was put in there. They either cut it out or she didn't offer it up. I don't know. But there's another thing, okay? She says that water, all right? She says a boat. So the entrance to this place is on water. Somehow or another, water is involved with these missing 411 cases. Lots of times it's near water, okay? We all know that caves are most caves are formed with water. Water leads to a cave usually. I mean, there's, eventually it's gonna go there. It's gonna go underground somewhere. Like, see, there's this other aspect to it now. There's this water thing, okay? Because of what she said. Now, this is all contingent on what she's saying being true. All right. I don't know that it's true. I don't know why she would make something like this up other than to try to get on this show or whatever, but there has to be some aspect to it that would cause them to want to put it on the show. The thing is, okay, they thought that she had actually gotten a hold of, or someone had actually gotten a hold of season 1 of Hellier prior to them releasing it, because this happened before they released the first season. So they were afraid that someone had gotten a hold of it, because she put these 2 phrases in there, key phrases that they specified in Hellier season 1. All right. She said that the euphonauts were after her. Okay. The euphonauts was what they were talking about in that book that was, that had the Terry Wrist interview. Okay. From season 1. Also, there was a term slough is what it was. And it had to do with something with that too. And it was something about alien something, I don't know. There was some meaning to it and I cannot remember it right now. But those 2 key words were in her email, okay? That is what gave it validity to Greg, because he thought that someone had seen Hellier and was messing with them, when in fact someone who had what she claimed was someone who knew them, a mutual friend who they really could never get a clear answer on, was telling her to email them. And that's how she found out, and that's the terms she used were the ones she had heard from people like him and stuff. So that gave it the validity for them to want to pursue it. And I can see exactly why they would. When you have two very specific words used that most people do not use, that would make you think, okay, someone has some kind of tie to what is going on. So, and Terry Wrist was the one who used that term slough, I know, in the email he sent. I believe it was written with those numbers. So anyway, that was weird. It was some really weird stuff. So that's why they kind of gave it the validity. They kind of gave it legitimacy, enough of it to look, enough merit to look into it. And this girl, though, the stuff she was claiming, okay, she's claiming that they are taking people, killing people, and doing it for ritualistic purposes. She also said the military is involved. There are other agencies involved. She said everybody's involved in it. Okay, the crazy thing, too, is this girl got arrested after she sent Greg these emails. She got arrested and charged with multiple felonies after she sent these emails. Okay, that's strange, if you ask me. She's either a criminal or something's really up. And from what she said, because they did and I know she was arrested from what it looked like, unless this is all fabricated, and I already told you I don't think it is. But this girl was arrested, and they did a live chat, like over the internet, and it was like in a jail. Okay, she went into a little bit more detail about what she was saying about all the stuff that was going on, and she said that in this live chat, she said that she started digging around, and they really started watching her and messing with her, and she was arrested right after she sent Greg those emails, and she was in jail with multiple felony charges, and he said that she claimed that she used to be a teacher, a third grade teacher, and would never be able to teach again and all this other stuff. And she told him that they were just trying to keep this all concealed, I guess. And it was just a really weird thing, like really weird. She said everybody was in on it, and it's a really strange thing. Okay, now let's step back from this and let's look at it in a logical way. If this is true, and this girl is talking about people actually being harmed and going missing and whatnot, this is a serious thing, okay? Very serious. This is a serious matter for law enforcement, and that's what a lot of people on these Reddits and subreddits and stuff that I was reading said about it. They were like, this should be looked at by authorities and all this other stuff. And Greg replied saying, that, well, and a lot of people were saying also, how do we know that this is real? How can you tell what she's saying is true? How can this be blah, blah, blah? And that's a lot of what a lot of people were saying, and I understand why. They were like, if this is serious, if this is real, if this is really happening, then somebody needs to do something about it. And anyway, Greg replied also saying, I think like the first thing I saw that he said about it was, we can't show you half of what we investigate because of the legal repercussions of showing it, I guess, publicly. And he said, though, that they've looked into a lot more than they could show us, basically. And he said a lot of the things that he has found out make her seem a lot less crazy. Okay, so it seems like they have done some more investigating on this, and this was only a year ago that he wrote this. So they have definitely been looking into this still. And they should if it's actually true. And, treating something like this, okay, that's a big, broad claim to make. That's a huge thing to claim. If you don't have some kind of proof, most people wouldn't say something like that unless they had some reason to say it. They're not going to make up allegations about something like that, and that's what makes me think about a lot of this stuff. Like, okay, there's so much going on that, people used to think this whole, like, the stuff like the Pizzagate stuff showed us and all that. People used to think that was all conspiracy theory stuff. Like, there wasn't any of that stuff going on in Hollywood and blah, blah, blah. And everybody found out that there was through this proof. I mean, that they supplied. So, it's like everything's a theory until it isn't. Everything's theories until it becomes facts. So what stops something from becoming a fact? Okay, even if it's something somebody's making up, it still might be something that is going on somewhere. So who knows? But what I'm saying is, right here, she's saying a specific place and a specific thing that's going on. And the only reason people wouldn't be looking into it is because they're being told not to, or something. Something is going on that would be preventing it. Well, Somerset is a weird place, from what I understand. I've read a lot about it here lately. Okay, there's people who have written in on Reddit saying that, they're working there, they moved there a few years ago, this and that, and there is some really weird stuff in this place. There's a weird vibe in the whole town. We moved there a few years ago. My wife went to work at the hospital, and one of the doctors asked, in the town next to us, and one of the doctors asked where she lived, and she said in Somerset, and he said, what is wrong with the people over there? He said, there's so much mental illness over there, and blah, blah, blah. Stuff like that. I feel like I'm saying blah, blah, blah a lot today. I'm going to have to stop that. Anyway, for real, it was some weird stuff. Weird stuff about Somerset. People were talking about UFO sightings. Lots of those there. There's lots of weird things that happen there. In Hellier, there was an interview with this guy named Nate who told them about this experience his wife had 2 times, 2 separate instances, where it looked like the wall, like, changed shape, he said what happened was, she said the thermostat slid down the wall and then slid over and then came back, shot back up, and he said the wall went doo 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 like that. Like it was like dematerialized somehow. It's weird stuff. So anyhow, this guy though told them about a lot of stuff like that, and a lot of stuff that had happened to people, like accidents, people who had known things, and this stuff that this girl was talking about, stuff like that. I mean, it was weird because seems like everybody who is saying something about that place says it's weird, even people who are not have anything to do with the show. Normal, everyday people that are writing in on Reddit seem to say the same thing, and there were people who had been there all their lives that said the same thing. There is a podcast that I have yet to even listen to because I was actually thinking, well, maybe I could do a whole show talking about the weird things that are going on in that place, because they said that they were going to discuss all the lore that had been going on, that they've been hearing all their lives, because this podcast was from Kentucky. They were like 20 minutes away from Somerset. So it sounded like they, had some kind of insight into it. Sounded like it was not something that they had gone without hearing about. as far as weird stuff is concerned. But I mean, this is weird. This girl says that she has seen things that would blow your mind and that would literally change you forever. No, forever change your reality. That's what she said. She has seen things. She said she is not the same person she was before she learned all this. And if what she says is true, I imagine not. And you guys know I can't say that something's true or not without, experiencing it myself. But I don't dismiss everything just automatically because I know that people have seen weird stuff. I've seen it myself. I know it exists. I can't say that someone hasn't seen something or someone, doesn't know something because it very well could be true. And if it is true, then, sometimes it needs to be taken seriously. Even if you think it may not be. If it's something serious, though, this is kind of serious. If you guys see what I'm saying, there are cave captives and creatures down there, she says. Anyway, the weirdest thing was, she heard that girl screaming, and it was like her boyfriend knew what was happening. Like he knew that she was going to be dead. And she said she listened to her for like 30 minutes until the screams just stopped. So that's scary. That's really scary stuff. Okay? She's talking about that cabin. She went in and found all that weird stuff there. She said she was in danger for discovering that they were doing rituals. Everyone in town is aware, she said. The caverns, she also claimed, go from Virginia to Ohio to Indiana to Tennessee. If you look at a map of the caverns, the cave systems in the United States, you'll see where Tennessee has a large portion, then they also flow down into the northeastern part of Alabama, near where I am. Actually, the cave I have may be part of this system. It probably is. And anyway, it goes all the way up. Covers, a good portion of Tennessee. It goes all the way up past Tennessee into Kentucky, over into Indiana, Ohio, Indiana, and it keeps going up into Virginia, West Virginia, all those states there. It's a huge, huge system over in the east. It goes all the way up through New England. All right, the most clusters, too, in the missing 411, it is strange how they coincide with where the caves are, even on the West Coast. The western side of this country, the clusters are where cave systems are. And there aren't many cave systems in the middle. So if you look at the cluster map, there are barely any clusters or missing 411 cases in the middle part of the country. It's strange. Okay? Very strange stuff. And anyway, but this girl claims that she has a boat to take to the entrance. Okay, that entails water is involved. If she has to go to it by boat. So how hidden is this? Okay, how is she going to it by boat? Is it a cave that you can actually go into with a boat or something? That's something I need to look into actually to see if there is anywhere like that you can access with a boat up in that part. Maybe one of you guys can check that out and let me know what's up with it. Anyway, this girl though says that she fears being murdered, and she gave personal information to Greg. They bleeped it all out, but she gave it to him. It's like she was trying to make him believe that she was legitimate. All right. She says they worship the green man. She also said slough, because he asked her where she had heard that term. She said troll looking things that are powerful. powerful troll-looking things. And the term is actually kind of derogatory term that was used in one of the wars, I believe. It stood for short, ugly little effer. You guys can guess what that stands for. Anyway, but that's one of the things they said about that. But she says that she found the entire system, and she said that the military, Wolfpack, Marines, occult, and aka euphonauts are all involved. Okay, specifically, what is the Wolfpack? That's what I want to know. I don't know what that is. I didn't look that up either. I meant to. That's another one of the things that I meant to research but didn't. I got so involved in this thing and learning all these specifics for you guys. No, I really did it for myself, but I figured it was something good to talk about too, because it was really something that it was intriguing me. It was interesting me. Like I wanted to know, just for my own knowledge, but I thought it would be something interesting to talk about. The Green Man thing is weird too, because that comes up in something that they were looking at also. And it's they say, I guess it represents Pan, the god Pan or whatever this entity is. They do a lot with that too. But the Green Man thing is weird because one of the guys, Tyler is his name, he joined the cast in season 2. He actually went to went to those coordinates that were sent in North Carolina, the ones that were near the Brown Mountain Cave alien base thing that Greg and his wife were at that one time. I think these coordinates were near there, is the ones that Terry Riss sent. Tyler actually went to them. He went to them to see if they were what was there. And he said, and when he went, absolutely nothing was there. But he ends up kind of getting lost on the way out because he couldn't get service back on his phone after he had backed out of the GPS app or something. And he finally finds his way out. And when he goes out, there's this house. So he goes up to the house to find out who lives there, and it's this old lady who says nothing weird ever happens, blah, blah, blah. But there's this carving on a tree, and it's like an old man looking thing, and he asked if that was a green man, and she was like, oh, no, it's just an old man. And he thought that was really weird because, see, that was another one of the things, those synchronicities that happen that keep coming up. Coincidences that seem like they mean something is what a synchronicity is. And they keep coming up with these people in this whole case in different ways. It's just really strange. Another thing that's weird about this whole thing, and this is something I've actually wanted to talk to Greg Newkirk myself about because it kind of ties into Sasquatch stuff. All right, Mylar balloons. They have a whole thing about these Mylar balloons on Hellier because of they found one in those coordinates in North Carolina. It was like a happy birthday balloon just sitting there. And anyway, for some reason, Tyler, who went there, said he felt it was significant and stuffed it in his bag. And another thing that happened, though, was a friend of Greg's had recorded a balloon that came out of nowhere in California where he was walking. And he showed it to him like on the same day that Tyler found that. It was a weird coincidence like that. I mean, there's just all kinds of stuff like this that goes on and makes you think, okay, there's just weird stuff happening. And it might be actually legitimately strange, high strangeness type of stuff. So, anyway, I wanted to talk to him about that because of the Mylar balloons I find out here in Sasquatch areas. I found tons of them. At least a dozen of them out here over the years. It's weird how they like that. They like those. I don't know. But it makes me wonder, because it seems like they also found a balloon with a tree knocked down over a trail, okay? And it seemed like some kind of Sasquatch activity. I'm not gonna lie, that's the way it felt when I saw what they came upon. And it was on a road that leads down to one of these caves that they were checking out. And that's another thing that's weird, because if the Sasquatch are involved, and there are these bad entities around that are living underground, that also ties into something I was told in an email that I got years ago that was just really weird, that I've talked to you guys about before, because it reminded me a lot of what Mark Barton said that happened to him, and the kind of things that did that to him. Okay, that's another weird thing right there that really makes me think, okay, what if something really is going on where all these types of creatures, these cryptids and stuff, are involved, and they are serving these weird entities or something that are more powerful, and they're ruling the world from below, from underground? Because that's what I was told in that email, essentially. That's essentially what Mark said. And then if this whole thing in Hellier is true, with this underground colony and all this weird stuff going on in the Sasquatch, what if they're like these, well, I don't even know if it is the Sasquatch, but creatures that are like them. What if they're involved too? They could be ETs also. Indrid Cold could have been sent here by the Third Order to check out this whole thing, and this Terry Risk guy could have met him and be trying to assist him in finding out answers about this stuff. And they've seen that Greg and them had interest in it and stuff. Who knows, man? Who knows what's going on? Any of that stuff could be, and you guys can tell I've been thinking about this too much. But when you bring in an aspect of missing people, you're talking about missing people, and this girl says that you can hear these creatures in the caves when you're in there. She says that they are there, they live there, and it reminds me also of these emails I've gotten about this cave stuff. Weird creatures, gates, and stuff like that in caves. I mean, there's so much mystery that surrounds caves, and I really think, guys, that there is something up with the subterranean world. I just have a feeling that caves are one of those things that we might find a lot of answers in if we explored enough of them in enough places. I mean, it may be answers we don't want, but it might be answers that we need, and answers that we've been wondering about. I mean, who knows? But all this stuff is just wild. Like, if it is true, and what this girl claims is real and is true, and she has seen this stuff, seen these little green men, seen this gatekeeper who did some kind of magic on her. See, I mean, what if she's telling them the truth? And Greg said all that stuff, about they're looking into this stuff, and they're looking into it more than they can tell people about, it seems like. So maybe there is some kind of other investigation going on with it or something. Now, who knows? But it's a weird thing to put out there in the public. He put it out there for us all to see. So it's out there. I mean, this is not contained information. This is out there for everyone to look at. What if it ties in to what's going on with the missing 411 stuff? What if it's one of the aspects of it, and there's other stuff causing other disappearances? I mean, man, there are so many questions, and if it isn't even related whatsoever, then that means it's just one, and it is real. If it is real, that means it's just one more screwed up thing that's going on in our world. Like, one more insane, crazy, screwed up thing that's happening on top of the missing 411 stuff and everything else. So, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, I've talked about this for a while, and I think that was about all I wanted to say about it right now. I may retouch the subject at a later date and see what I can dig up and find on it, and let that be it. So anyway, I'll see you guys later. Someone making some noise out there. Take it easy, everybody.